All right, good morning, guys. Quick sound check. Let me know you can hear me. How's everybody doing this morning? Check. Sweet. Thank you, thank you. And what are we feeling today? Um, yeah, so in gold, okay, sweet. That's what I was just about to ask. Yeah, so in gold, I texted this to a buddy of mine as well last night. But so I'm thinking that we rally early on this week. So yesterday kind of being a little bit of a lackluster day in there. I'm still fairly bullish in here in the short term this week. So I kind of think that it's a bit of an ambitious goal, but I kind of think we can push back up towards like 5280s this week early on for gold. So, you know what, another 250-ish points, give or take, to the upside here. We're already up 281 points today. But I think that's kind of the upper area where I think I can see this going. At the same time, I think in silver, we have room kind of back up towards that $100, maybe pop over $100 just a little bit there. So another like, 10, 12 bucks in there. And then from there, I think we ultimately probably come back down and we recheck this 74 area for silver. And then, potentially from there, figure out a deeper pullback. And then after that, probably manage to go higher. So if you picked up a gold position yesterday, I like it. You opened it in GLD, so you just got straight calls then? If so, I think it's a pretty good position. I mean, I can't imagine that whatever strike you picked, we are not green. We wouldn't be green on that at the moment, unless volatility is insane yesterday. I don't see that being the case. Oh, they actually weren't terrible pricing. But yeah, no, you should be good on that. If you wanted to take some from the open, I wouldn't blame you. You're gonna get a nice vol spike. But yeah, I would look, if you have the time, I would look to kind of February 11th, 441s. Oh, you got some time then. 441s, yeah, you're going to be at, let me see what those are trading for. February 11th, 441. So you picked them up yesterday, probably like $7, give or take, 650. Those will probably be trading at, where did we close yesterday? 427. Those are honestly probably going to be trading close to $20 at the open. I'm just looking at, we closed yesterday at like 427s. So if you look at the 415s, those would be like $12 lower. They're currently trading at, they were trading yesterday at the close at 20 and a quarter by 21. So right now we're up, like $11 over your strike at the moment. So 11, $12, they're basically the same here, 415 to 427. So yeah, I would think those contracts open up somewhere right around $20. 19, $20, something like that. Yeah, that's gonna be a nice win. I wouldn't blame you for taking some off and then looking to see if you can't manage it. I mean, it's got room up to 476s for GLD specifically. But yeah, nice scoop there. Let me see something here. We got a minute and change here until the bell. I dropped the morning write up in the chat, and that's kind of going to be the guiding factor for me here today. I'm not super interested in in really doing much first thing. Yeah, for sure. Gold's actually trying to push back up through there. Yeah, that is one trade I am watching here is going to be NASDAQ off these 922s. See if we can't do anything in there. The problem is like we we essentially went a little bit too far too fast yesterday. And now it's kind of like, all right, do we take a rest day here? Which would also make sense. And if that's going to be the case, then, you know, maybe, just maybe we see some consolidation here and markets decide to do a whole lot of nothing. So I'm cautious about that at the same time. My charts are slow to load. Holy cow. I'm waiting this whole time to get the Russell to load up. Wow, that took a minute. I do kind of like the Russell though. The Russell has that look. If we can get some pullbacks in there today, I'd be open to longs in the Russell. And the Dow, like, what is that? Like, what is that? Like, really? Just ripped 219 points straight out the open like that? Probably owns the 752s. Meanwhile, Nasdaq is struggling. My charts are slow. I'm still printing. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else is having the same issues or not. All right, well, that's not going to be too much fun. We had a decent gap in Google and AMD, and it looked like we were going to have a decent one on Amazon, but they got earnings later this week, and I kind of think that fails. I don't think it gets the move in front of earnings that you would maybe think that it would based on the chart. Russell somehow has come all the way back down. 2662.80s, that level in there. I probably shouldn't like think twice about it and just long it off here. The Dow getting a nice move. It's a bottoming tail and a half on that little 2-minute chart there. Dow looks like it wants to push up there. Some real weakness in the NASDAQ. Coming in straight off the open there. Microsoft, this little small gap down. Looks like that's getting continuation lower here. Again, part of me is thinking I really shouldn't question this Russell here. I'm glad I am at the moment. What you know about that? I know all about that. Pick up some 265s and what? What you trying to trade? IWM? Probably not a terrible idea. The daily just looks like it wants back up to those 271s. I don't know. Nasdaq's the one that has me a little bit concerned with what it is it wants to do here. What you know about that? Well, gold came down, made new lows there. At the moment, it's kind of looking like S&Ps are just fading in a little bit here. Russell's still holding, or Dow's still holding strong. Russell's starting to fade a little bit. Now, that was all on there. Russell is kind of coming back up off the opening print area. So is gold. Do we trust it or do we not? Is the question here. Russell's starting to move now. No. I'm literally waiting for a chart to switch. This is wild how slow this is at the moment. There's that 752 coming out of the Dow. We just traded 753 there on highs. I legit can't switch charts or it just bogs down for some reason. You have 40, 60% IWM calls. Nice. Nasdaq just fading. I do like the Russell. It would have been a little bit better from yesterday if we'd have gone down and traded those 2608.50s. That would have been just a little bit of icing on the cake for it for today at least. I would feel a little bit more better, a little bit more better. The Dow doesn't seem to care though. If we're getting this leader change again back to Russell Dow, and like S&Ps and Nasdaq kind of take a little secondary second place, then we could be in for a decent move. That low is 57.80s. We traded 57.60s, so we did pop new lows there in the Russell just by 2 ticks or so. But it's coming back fairly toppy looking, so I'm not like in love with that part of it. That's 200 points straight down out of the NASDAQ so far. So anybody that was thinking the too easy play, as Luke said it, off of 922s for longs this morning, I don't think it's too easy at the moment. Mm. Yeah, I don't like that it didn't make the new highs either, but I don't know that it matters at the same time either. I also don't know that I love wanting to lock in on longs right here either with that big NASDAQ move to the downside. We'll see how long it takes to change these charts. Maybe it's speeding up a little bit. And no, it's not. Do do do. Do do do. Hey, there we go. I don't know however long that is, but it is too long. Excuse me. NASDAQ taking a little pause here. Russell and Dow getting a little bit of a pullback. I'm gonna say part of me thinks we should long that Russell on the pullback. There's that new high for it. Only market pushing new highs here. That's unfortunate. I mean, it doesn't really have a target. Like, it's got 100 points worth of room, which is the crazy part. Next pullback, though, I'm interested. I kind of dropped the ball on this one a little bit this morning, which is my fault. That 62.80 was a nice hold, and we'll add a divergence down there. It's unfortunate because the next entry that we get, or that it provides most likely, is not going to be as clean and pretty as that first one is. Now I'm trying to switch charts here. It's not working. There we go, maybe. Yeah, it's a nice Russell move. Silver's got a nice little interesting pattern here off of opening print. It's about $1 worth of risk. So I guess what would that be? 5,000 on full contracts and 500 on minis or micros. Micros aren't quite the same though. I don't feel like they're not the 10 to 1. Yeah, so it's 1,000 is what it is, right? Yeah. All right, Russell kind of topping for just a moment there. Dow couldn't quite get back up to 752s. Honestly, I would like to be done right about here. If I caught the Russell, we'd have at least something out. It's nice, like 13, 14 point move in there. We'd have at least something out, and then just waiting for a trail to lock things in and call it a day. At the moment, I'm kind of looking at NASDAQ here. If we can come down and grab a new low, it's tough because we're going to be like right back into the middle of that bar from yesterday. There's really nothing here to substantiate the claim, but if we can make a new low, you get some type of divergence here. S&Ps are still holding fairly well. Russell giving back a little bit more than I would have thought there. Then potential longs in there would be on the table. Yeah, gold and silver going crazy now. Apple just pushed up there about 3 points, printing up through 270s now. Let's see if NASDAQ can't come down and make new lows and be the only market to do so. I'm going to be cautious with it, but it does have the potential. Like I said, there's nothing here, unfortunately. There's honestly nothing to say that we can't just fail this and go back to 206s, which would be kind of insane for what, back-to-back 500 plus point ranges basically. Total range on the day is already 229 points. NASDAQ new low. S&P's new low. I'm not buying this at the moment. Russell, decent little pullback here now too. Apple doesn't seem to care. Everything else seems to care though. Amazon, AMD, Snow. Everything else does. It's gonna be a tough move if we like just erase yesterday's bar. Like, I mean, we still got another 150 points to go. It's like we are getting down to that back down to that 206s, then it's even more room. Oh, the screenshot rule. You were starting to take screenshots? That's a good rule, honestly. So that would take us down to like 610s in NASDAQ. Wait. Oh, never mind. Hold on. Yeah, okay, never mind. I thought I was about to be tripping for a second. This is a crazy looking chart. It's almost not worth it to get Q options either. Meta coming down hard. Yeah, probably not a bad idea. I wrote it in the morning write-up that if it's going to chop around, then I don't want anything to do with it. But I also didn't necessarily plan for a complete reversal of yesterday. Like I didn't I mean, obviously it's always in the cards that we can do whatever. I just didn't necessarily have a plan for this at the moment. I would not have expected at 9:59, we were 300 points lower on the day. Like we were up. We were green. We were positive this morning. Markets were all green. Russell and Dow are the only ones holding that line at the moment, which could get lost here relatively soon. See, I didn't necessarily have a plan for that. I still technically don't, so. The Dow, however, is managing to hold here. At least at the moment. Um, I might honestly kind of take Osborne's lead on this one. Well, NASDAQ is about to erase that entire bar from yesterday. Russell just popped new lows there, kind of holding a little bit. Dow. I just don't know that I'm interested in doing anything with Russell longs, considering the market move out of, I mean, S&Ps and NASDAQ. I mean, Russell is a market technically itself, but I didn't necessarily plan for this. And now I'm kind of like, eh. I mean, at some point we get a little bit of a reprieve balance. Is that enough where the Russell, kind of takes off and does its thing, which it's getting a little bit more of a bounce now. It's like you could argue it, but is it enough is the question. Gold kind of looks like it's coming back up here. Silver kind of same thing. That opening print is 88.09s, but gold now hitting right at that opening print. If you're looking for longs in there, I don't think it's a bad spot. It just needs a better entry. I mean, we're talking you need like 25 points worth of stop loss in here, so 2,500 bucks per contract or 250 bucks per contract, depending on what size you're trading. But that looks to be a pretty decent spot right there. Whether we end up holding or not is a different story, but I think we would. Doesn't seem to care. Metals don't necessarily seem to care about the markets here, more specifically the NASDAQ. Do we really want to wrangle with the metals when NASDAQ's doing what it's doing, though, is the question. It's a pretty hard bar to the downside in the NASDAQ. I'm just looking at that daily chart. It was like everybody coming into today was pretty much thinking long. 38 minutes into the day, anybody that tried long is not happy. Unless you took the Russell early, like we talked about, and took profits up there. Even then, the back half would have trailed. Microsoft's at 414. Russell's still trying to hold on. It's just, I don't think it's worth. I don't think it's worth doing. Oh, you wanted shorts on NASDAQ? You're going to play back into that daily bar? She got balls. Bigger picture. I mean, again, we talked about it. You could argue that that weekly topping tail from last week is going to be a factor here and send us lower, bigger picture. We came out with a strong daily bar off those 206s. It looked like it wanted to take that out. The gold's making a nice little move. It's got a lot more it's got to run if it wants to be decently profitable. I didn't take it, but it's kind of acting like it wants to. I don't trust it fully though at the moment. It's tough when you look at longs just with the move, obviously, in which we've had to even consider something long. But at the moment, Apple's sitting right on opening print. It's kind of pushing through it a little bit now. I kind of think maybe, I don't know, if Apple holds later into the end of the day, NASDAQ finds a little bit of a reprieve, it probably gets a scalp bounce to the upside. Otherwise, pullbacks to 264.19s would be better from a long standpoint this week. Yeah, honestly, I think we just have to chill. The Dow here still acting like it wants to hold. But it did, I mean, the Dow's done the whole thing. It traded 752s. Like, there really isn't anything else that it needs to do. I mean, I guess if it wanted to hold, it could, but we're just going to end up sitting here watching NASDAQ go to 206s with legitimately no entries. That's the full reversal of the move from yesterday now. We just popped those lows. 10 points. The Dow still looks like it wants to rally. Dow kind of popped there. Russell right back up into those 62s. Do we really go there? It'd be a crazy move to finish this out. The Dow doesn't look like it wants to, though. The Dow and the Russell they're trying to hold on like crazy. Whenever NASDAQ is done doing whatever it's doing and it takes that pressure off, I think the Russell and Dow are going to have a pretty nice move this week, especially if that strength, that pair, like continues. I mean, it would be hard pressed to not think that Russell at some point, as long as we hold and don't just completely fail like what NASDAQ's done, then it would be hard pressed to think we don't try and make a push back up towards, that 2745 area. I don't know that there's a great way to play it at the moment. And again, assuming that NASDAQ continues to come down. Trump tweeting. What you tweeting? Just talking with Cuba. Cuba. Maybe we should just load up some evals. Let it get a little bit of a pop and then just short it. See if we can't just take out a prior bars high. See if NASDAQ wants to rip to the downside still. I mean, that's the problem. I don't really see a great way of playing it. And the smart bet probably is to walk away. But if I don't do anything and I sit here, then kind of don't mind these Q puts. They did pop up and trade like 31 cents there, the 610s. I mean, the question becomes is what's the most likely outcome here? Is that NASDAQ completely erases yesterday's bar and then rallies back to highs, would be like scenario number one, which is where we're currently at. Or NASDAQ completely erases yesterday's bar and then continues that move lower to go down and tag, 609.75s basically. Meanwhile, we have a Russell and a Dow that are essentially trying to hold here. Dow didn't even make new lows. So you can put a pretty decent argument together for either direction. It's one of those two scenarios is essentially all it comes down to. The S&Ps didn't quite erase the full move just yet. So there's not much help over there in terms of picking a direction. But I would venture to say that we probably go lower. About Russell, I could see the opposite. Those contracts just went from 13 cents to 23 cents. I was watching the 610 puts on Qs. And that probably was the move, was we just popped that prior bars high, 594 in NASDAQ. We traded 605, so like 10 points through that. And then immediately went down and pushed lows. Russell, on the other hand, though, is that 15-minute in there doesn't look terrible. I don't think I can long it just based on NASDAQ, but what do you guys think? Those contracts are now 43 cents. Russell's still holding. Still acting like it wants to hold this area. If you have some risk you want to put on, I think it's in the Russell from a long side perspective. It's just super tough long though. If Nasdaq does pull some nonsense though and rallies back up though, Russell should make a nice move. No, it ain't a full port shorts. Unfortunately. It's a crazy idea, and it might not work, but the 630 calls for NASDAQ are 5 cents. It would be a crazy concept that we leave a bottoming tail here, but, and I don't think we necessarily do, but if you wanted to play for that just based on the Russell Dow strength, I don't know that it's necessarily too terrible. There's a lot of weak names out there though. Nvidia, Microsoft, Snow, Meta, even Amazon. Apple's still strong though. So yeah, it'd be a tough one. But it's probably not bad. Let me see, what were those? I'll put these over on another screen here real quick. So we had the puts on the 610s. That's what we were looking at. Those are 20 cents, and then the 630 calls are 5 cents. Um, I haven't done anything with this yet. Kind of debating if it's worth either direction or not. I don't love, I mean, obviously I don't love a short entry down here, but at the same time I don't love a long entry either. It seems kind of foolish, but the Russell Dow strength also makes it interesting to see. You trying it long? It could be worth it. The Russell at the moment doesn't seem to care and looks like it wants higher. NASDAQ, it's a tough long. I kind of don't want anything to do with either of them. All right. Snow is probably one of the weakest things I see on the board, down 8% on the day. That's ugly. Nasdaq trying to get a little rally here, coming off these lows. And by saying a little, I just mean a little rally, nothing crazy. Russell. Tesla actually getting a little bit of love here now. This Tesla chart is just about as weird can get. Maybe. I still don't know if it's worth doing anything or not. I'm just chilling still at the moment. I've looked at like longs, I've looked at shorts, I've looked at individual names. I mean, the metals, yeah, gold had a decent little pop, but it would have been good for like 1 R, if that, because just because the stops are so wide, and it's already up basically 300 points on the day. So, and I said it earlier, like I didn't have this in my plan, and it's like the more time we spend down here and we don't rally though, that's the part where it's like, okay, it's looking more and more likely that we make that push down into 609s and, get absolutely wrecked to the downside basically, which, I mean, we kind of got wrecked this morning to the downside, like to the tune of like 400 points. So it wouldn't be too much to ask for another like 300 points here, which is essentially what it would take. 330 points kind of get us down to 206s there. Somehow Tesla is finding some strength in the midst of this, and I don't exactly know what to do with that, but it's fading it a little bit now, so Russell Dow may be giving it up a little bit now. I mean, that's essentially what we've been waiting for here, and see if NASDAQ wants to give up the rest of it. These 610s are still like 25 cents. I'm going to pass. I don't think I'm going to do anything. We took our little shot yesterday on some NASDAQ for the long attempt. Let's see. Um, I say that, and then Nasdaq starts to rally back up here. The Dow came down, traded 469. That level is like 456 is there. I don't know. I think this is going to be one of those where, like, yeah, you might get lucky, and could we develop a 1-2-3 down here and go lower? Sure. Do we probably need to bounce and trade like 640s first for that to realistically happen? Yeah. If we do that, does 640 get too strong and then we start to take hold with the Russell and the Dow? So in the meantime of us waiting for like a 1-2-3 to the downside here, the market might start to rally back. It'd be the ultimate kind of like FU on this chart though, to leave a bottoming tail. I mean, we got a total range on the day of 482 points. So if we were to rally that back, I mean, it'd be a massive move. 'Those 630 calls for a nickel don't seem too bad. I just don't know what to do with them if that's not the case. It's a wild long idea. $26.72.30 is that little high there for the Russell. Looks like we're about to take that out. Just did. Tesla right back up. Weird little bottoming tail in there and then rally back through. All right, we didn't quite get 640s. We got what, 620s there? 619, 50s. Tesla topping tail coming back in there now. I think this snow move just stands out to me a lot. That's a crazy looking move so far. Honestly, I think it's going to be a do nothing kind of event here. 10:53. We're coming up on 11 o'clock here. I'm going to put a lid on it at 11 o'clock. Like I said, I didn't really have a plan for this. As much as I want to be long the Russell here, it just doesn't, I don't think, make sense given the, I mean, if you look at the Russell by itself, it makes total sense to be long the Russell today. And I'll probably set some alerts up here just to see if we ever come up and take these highs out on the day. We probably do at some point. 78, 90s. Set some alerts up there. Let me see the Dow for a second. Total range on the Dow is 342 points. I mean, we smacked right up into the 752s pretty decently. Anybody have any questions? Anything you want me to take a look at? Any tickers? TGT? Let me take a look at TGT. Respond to that message. TGT. I like it. I like the chart. Apple coming back nicely there. No, it hasn't really given an entry. It kind of looks. It looks similar to Cat in a way, just not quite. The weekly chart's not quite in the same situation. But daily charts kind of look similar with like that runaway the past like 4 days. They got earnings coming up. Well, this is not out until March. Yeah, March 4th. I don't mind it. I mean, a little shimmy just now under these 111s and change, 111.50s. I don't mind it. Apple going right back up. Talk about a little shimmy right there. Apple comes down, makes that little new low there, 267s and change. Pops right back up. All right, 10:59. Yeah, there still ain't nothing for me to do. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up there for the day. Kind of a weird situation here. I don't know. I could have been a little bit better on the Russell, and it would have worked, and then probably would have trailed on back half, which is fine. I could have been a little bit more aggressive on some new entries in there off of 6280s opening print area, but NASDAQ getting the weakness that it did, I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of that. Could have had a gold trade that maybe would have worked for like 1R. Silver still just like slightly above opening print there, 8809s. So nothing super crazy in there either. I don't see that unless you shorted NASDAQ, like I don't see, like Apple yesterday was the clear, like that was the big trade. I don't see what that is today. I don't, again, unless you were short NASDAQ for some reason, unless you thought we were going to fail and, you know, drop 400 points, which props to you if that's what you thought. I don't necessarily know that I would have played for the complete reversal of the daily bar, but I mean, that's not to say that it wouldn't have worked, but I wouldn't have had a reason to personally. But yeah, otherwise, I just don't see what it was. There was, you know, Microsoft with a little gap down. Like there was a couple of names that had some small gap downs that, and then at the same time, there was a couple of names like Amazon, AMD, Google, all getting a decent gap up. So a bit of a surprise, kind of, I think, personally across the board here. So yeah, I'm happy to just like walk away, let this do its thing. Yeah, like I say, maybe you still do some type of options trade, but again, we're gonna be pushing. We push 631s. We were kind of thinking we push up towards like 640s, right? That's pretty freaking close to me. Um, Russell and Dow still kind of holding strong. So yeah, I'm just gonna let it be. I don't think there's any reason to press. There's still a ton of earnings names coming out later this week and kind of all the stuff. So um, yeah. Anyways, that's what I got. I'll check back into the Discord later, but likely not going to be doing anything here with this. And it should make for an interesting rest of the week, though. I don't know if I love or hate what it's doing to the charts currently. So, anyways, appreciate you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.